Hi, my name is Miliana, a female entrepreneur, passionate about inspiring other females in creating a life they love and sovereignty, while developing businesses with a positive impact. I grew up on a small farm, surrounded by cows, sheep, chickens, dogs, cats, and nature. That's where I learned that a natural, sustainable way is sometimes the best way. I think it is how our modern world can heal itself from the inside out. I strive to do what makes me happy, work with people that inspire, and share some of these moments with you. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for yet another fruitful talk. Today I have here Nicholas Radulescu, who is a freelance interpreter and a filmmaker. And this story is going to be a little bit different than the others, because I will also show both success and challenges of Nicholas, but I would say in a little bit different than the other interviews, in a sense where some of his projects, have had their own stops, had their own challenges. I don't want to call them failure, because in reality there's no such a thing as failure. And he's here today to show you that doesn't exist. Welcome.
Hi, Miliana. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's lovely to have you. And though I introduced you, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
No, I think what you said summed up a lot of things that have happened in the last couple of years with me and my projects and with filmmaking. I've had huge success in some areas, and other areas I've sort of taken a break. So that's all I would add.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being open to be vulnerable, because I think that's another major part of our lives, is people usually don't like to be vulnerable and share those things that are a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe other people won't praise us for them as much, and you're here literally doing that. So thank you for doing it. Okay, I'll go with the first question. And my first question to you is, do you connect to a specific purpose in your life?
I was thinking about that question. And I think if I have to really answer it, what I connect with most is doing things that can make other people happy, or make someone else feel good. That's I think the purpose that motivates me the most. I don't know how much of my actual work and life directly does that, but that to me is something that always is inspiring for me.
Okay, so I get that for you, your purpose is really how you treat other people and how they feel if you do something for them, you know? Is that what you mean by it? I'm just trying to get a little bit more, what do you see as your purpose? What do you think makes people happy that you
Yeah,
do?
well, I think there's the part of treating, how you treat people, which is what you said, but I think I'm also referring to the work that I do in my life, the way I spend my life somehow contributes also to people being benefiting other people, even if I don't even know who that person is. You know what I mean? But having work that has a positive impact in other people's lives. Do you know what I mean? Which is also
Well,
is separate from
I,
actually how you treat
mhm.
people, but both are very important to me. But to me, they're also separate. It's how I treat my friends, how I treat the people I run into at work, and then there's also what is it that I do? What does it contribute to in the world? World.
Yeah, you bring a very, very valid point, which I think often even I forget. And that is the way of being, of how we be. And for us to be with others in a way that makes them happy and makes them feel good, we gotta be like that with ourselves. So,
Yeah,
okay, that is
definitely.
awesome. I love it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it like that before. Yeah. Okay, so I will go into the next question for you, and
Yeah.
I I'm not really sure how to really frame this. I have thought about it and wrote some thoughts down, but there is two. projects that you currently have somewhat going on, because I know you do more than that, but like two that like you identify yourself with. And one of them is a freelance interpreter, and the
Yeah.
other one is a filmmaker. The freelance interpreter is doing super well. Is doing
Yeah.
great. That's my
Yeah.
understanding. And the filmmaker is on pause for the moment.
He's
Um,
unemployed and yeah,
he's,
he's barely alive, honestly.
he's barely alive.
He's barely alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
He's like hanging on by a thread on the edge of the cliff.
I like that because I think this really demonstrates the humanity that we all have and how life actually works. You know, one moment you're doing great, you have these ideas, you embark on them, you're doing amazing, and the next thing, life happens again, and it happens in a completely different way, and it has you like, oh my God, like, can I survive this?
Yeah,
And that's where your filmmaker is right now.
pretty much.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about what had you going to freelance interpreter.
Yeah, for me it was I liked doing things that I interacted directly with people. And I had a skill and experience with languages. And I just like doing things where I'm like put into situations where I have to like think on my feet and sort of be active in the moment. For me, those are the types of jobs that I enjoy. And I knew that interpreting, you really get to do that. You know, you get to be in a lot of different situations. You get to see people that are maybe at the hospital, at court, facing deportation, or maybe they're getting good news about a surgery. But whatever it is, like I like being in things where I really get to witness other people's lives and like sort of be a part of that experience with other people through my job. That's something that really draws me almost more than anything to interpreting. And then the freelance aspect, I just love working for myself and making my own schedule. And that for me has always just been a good fit with my personality and the way that I function, what motivates me. Being freelance has always just been very attractive to me. And it's also worked for me better than other things.
Okay, and I think that is what the goal is to portray here, is literally for people to see a real example of what is possible. Because I think that we always get caught into this idea that if I'm a freelancer, I will have a much more difficult time of doing things. Maybe in the beginning, you'll share that part with us in a moment, but I think there's a lot more that it gives us than it takes away from us in the long run. Okay, so you started because you love languages and your love for people and really being in places where you actually can help, assist, but in a grand way. You know, you
Yeah.
mentioned surgery, you mentioned courthouse,
Mm-hmm.
deportation, and I know you actually you interpret in those places. You interpret in a hospital, you interpret in a courthouse here in New York, and wow, like I first want to like thank you for the work that you do in this country where there's so many of us who come from other countries from around the world, and you really make life easier for those people.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, honestly.
Okay, and how long you been doing this for?
I've been doing it. It's crazy because it's the years have added up. And I guess it makes sense that I'm successful at it now because I've been doing it for a while, over 5 years.
Okay,
Yeah, I
I
started in
like how you say
2016.
5 years is a lot. I like that.
Well, it's a lot compared to my other things because you know how I am. I start things and I give them up. So 5 years for me is long.
Yeah, that means there's a true love in there,
Yeah, I think so.
somewhere
Totally.
with the job. It's really connected to you and your personality and what you are here to contribute to society. Okay, and what what would you say was the greatest challenge of you starting as an interpreter?
For me at the beginning, the hardest part, aside from at the beginning, like you're just not getting a lot of work because you have to build a relationship with clients, and also your rates are lower. But those are sort of
Mm-hmm.
minor things that you just work through for everyone. But for me, the biggest challenge was that I felt like I didn't belong there. And I was always super nervous whenever any of the patients or any of the people I'm interpreting for would like not want me there, or think that I'm not a good interpreter, or think that they want someone else. And I always had I was used to be super nervous in front of before all of my assignments, just thinking stuff like that and having doubts about it. I also was like not as good at Spanish back then, so I was also just very scared of actually making a mistake, because I just didn't have the level of confidence for one, but also the vocabulary and yeah, I just didn't have the same level that I have now, that I've acquired over the years.
Okay. And that brings me to the next question. What was your background when you like why did you feel like Spanish interpreting, and I know it's not the only language that you
Mm-hmm.
interpret, and um what did you feel like, okay, I can see myself do Spanish interpreting? Like what were those skills that you acquired through your life? Is there any education or anything?
Yeah, I was a Spanish major in college. It was one of the things I studied most in college. I mean, we did a lot of literature. I wasn't like doing interpreting in college, but still, it was something that I
Mm-hmm.
was sort of in my mind, and something that I knew I had a passion for. And I did it as a volunteer in college too, and I just remember really just enjoying. Of all the things I did in college, it was something that felt very fulfilling. Because a lot of times I felt like my classes were not fulfilling for me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily love college, but when I would go to the hospital and volunteer, I felt like I was actually doing something that to me felt worthwhile when I was volunteering as an
Wow,
interpreter.
okay.
And so when I came to New York, I was actually an actor, and I forgot about all that stuff, and I was pursuing acting, doing some theater gigs, going to auditions, working as a cater waiter, and I got to a point where I was like, I want to have a change, and I want to work in something that's more interesting. So that's when I really made the switch, and I used sort of my experiences from before, from when I had done it as a volunteer, and my experience with Spanish, as like something that gave me the confidence that I could do it.
Okay, so you're saying that you studied for Spanish in college. That's what your
Mm-hmm.
major was. But even so, in 4 years of studying it, and I know it's not exactly 4 years because you'll have some stuff to get out of the way. Everyone does before they can actually go into their major
Mm-hmm.
specifically. But even with that, there was something lacking for you that you still didn't feel like your Spanish was good enough, even after a college degree.
No, not at all. I mean, it's just a different
Wow.
level.
Okay.
Like when you're in a room with a doctor and their time is short and they're saying something and yeah, the college didn't really prepare me that much for interpreting. I mean, like I said, I did mostly reading and writing in college, but I didn't do a ton of
Mm-hmm.
speaking Spanish. So,
Okay. And then when you came to New York, as an
yeah,
actor, what got you one day to be like, oh, I'm gonna be an
I was
interpreter?
just tired of being a cater waiter. I was exhausted from doing that. And I knew that I had a college degree, and I was like, okay, let me actually use this thing that I got. So that's when I'm,
Right. That you work hard
yeah, that
for.
I worked hard for. I had my doubts about it, but I finished. And so I kind of just reached a
Right.
saturation point with working in catering and just feeling like just very much unrespected in that job. Just kind of being barked at by
Yeah.
these captains and not feeling like like it was basically just causing stress in my life. I mean, a paycheck, but it was more of a stressful job than an enjoyable one at that time.
Yeah. I got it. Okay. So yeah, you would do anything to go after your dreams, and you ended up as an interpreter, acting, and then after a while, I think the acting turned into
Exactly,
filmmaking.
yeah. There's a lot of people at the court who are sometimes facing deportation and they're looking for asylum. And this is immigration court, just to
Yeah.
give you some context. It's like specifically immigration court. Um, And a lot of time, I mean, some of these people really have very difficult stories.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very difficult stories. And they're really, really hardworking people. And they have very, very close-knit families that they work hard for. And they just don't qualify to get asylum. And it's just that simple. And they don't get it. And it's sad. It's really sad to see that. So for me, what's the most rewarding is when people actually do fit the parameters and the lawyer and the judge sees that and they grant them asylum and they give them a chance to be completely legalized in this country. And I mean, it's really emotional sometimes, honestly. I mean, I think every time that happens, they usually cry because it's something that they've sometimes risked their whole lives to get here to where they're at. And if they lose their asylum case, I mean, they're getting deported. If you apply for asylum and you don't get it, you get deported. There's other scenarios where you wouldn't get deported, but if you're applying for asylum, you don't get it, you get deported. And I've also seen, fathers of 3 who've been here for 40 years get ordered removed from this country, and they've had kids that were all born in this country, and now they have to pack their bags and leave at 50 years old.
I really wanted to share this other part of you, this Nicholas, that's a filmmaker that you said is barely alive at the moment, and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
share his story. And what had you first get into filmmaking?
I started writing again. And when I started writing, I realized I wanted to make what I was writing into something. So I think it's kind of a tough question to answer, really, honestly, because it just happened very organically. It happened very organically. It was like kind of just one thing led to another, and I was just following one idea after another. I was just kind of losing interest with acting a little bit, and I was focusing on other things. And I had been working on a screenplay, and I was like wanting to get my screenplay out there, produce the film, and so I just said, I don't have to wait for someone. I can just start producing films. And as soon as it was just something that really, really clicked with me, honestly. I haven't done many things in my life where I felt like I was firing on all cylinders, but that was one of them where I felt like every aspect of myself, of the way I think, the way I feel, the way I interact with people was being used. And that for me was the production aspect, the writing aspect, the directing aspect, the planning, all of it. Bringing a team of people together, executing, keeping a budget, all that stuff. I just really enjoy that whole process. So I feel dumb talking about it this way because I've been so lazy about it now.
What I was saying is that there's no reason for you to feel dumb because there is a reason why you're here telling us the story and reconnecting with why you started filmmaking, because it seems like the passion and the love is still very much present right there for you. And
Mm.
what type of filmmaking do you do? Like, what do you write, and what type of stories do you like to share when it comes to filmmaking?
I like sharing stories that are real and personal, and based on characters more than action usually. So like a character driven drama, conflicts between people, and the things that drive us, the things that make families work or not work, or relationships fall apart. Um, but for me, always, whatever I write, the things that I write that I feel like are the ones that stick are the things that are based on my own experiences in some way, even if it doesn't look like it at first. But the place I'm coming from is from my own memories, my own feelings.
Since the filmmaking is on pause for you right now, what has it actually like? What's the reason why it's being paused at the moment?
Oof. At the moment, I think it's just a balancing act of goals that I made for myself since the pandemic that I'm just made a priority. So right now I'm focused on, making a certain amount of money, moving into an apartment, which are all like big steps for me. I'm going to move into my own 1 bedroom, which is going to be in New York, which is a huge step for me. I've lived mostly with roommates or in relationships, and I'm really excited about it. And I guess a part of me is afraid that it's like, if I don't work X amount of hours a week, that won't happen. And so part of that would be filmmaking. Like, if I'm filmmaking, I'm not working at my interpreting job. So right now I kind of have this fear of like, if I spend time on filmmaking, it's almost going to like jeopardize some of these goals that I've made for myself for this year.
Okay. So you're saying the first thing that is kind of stopping you and pausing you is this fear that because you have a job that's providing for you and it's providing pretty well, if you are able to afford in New York City a 1 bedroom apartment, in my opinion, that's somebody doing pretty good for themselves. But at the same time, there's a fear that like if you stop working, then you and focus on a project that at the moment isn't bringing money in for you, that everything will collapse. And it won't just collapse your film project, it will also create issues as in where you live, how you live, the work that you do. I got it.
100%, yeah. And just my overall financial health. Even if I
Yeah,
was able to, let's say, keep the apartment, I just feel like all of a sudden my financial health would be in question again.
I got it. Well, first, congratulations for being smart and for for taking care of those things that are necessary. It's so true. Financial health is a real thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And then when it comes to filmmaking, though I know you've done a small amount of it, what would you say is the most rewarding part of doing that?
The most rewarding part, without question, is putting in the weeks and months of planning and talking to people and figuring out what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and getting there the day of and actually watching it happen.
Yeah.
I've been, for me, it's like almost been like so excited and nervous even about it the day of, that it's like it's hard for me even to enjoy it. I think as I did more shoots, I was able to enjoy it more because I had a little more confidence in it. Um, but that to me is just amazing. Just like really taking an idea, sharing it with people, and watching it actually materialize. Um, that's the coolest part. Regardless of how good it is, just like actually getting there and doing it. And then, sure, if it's bad, you do it again, you do it different, you make changes. But like for me, the most exciting thing is like just taking an idea and executing it,
Bringing it to life.
bringing it to life. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to see some of your films, and we'll get to that in a moment. I want to
I have a
repeat
lot of
this
stuff to send
question
you.
for you. That's awesome. Um, I want to repeat this question for you. And what is the type of films that you like to film?
I think as far as a genre, I would say it's like sort of indie drama. So dramas, um, like basically dramas, like not crazy comedy, not action, thriller, horror, but a drama um, that's kind of indie in the sense that it's maybe a little not as mainstream or kind of has an independent touch to it. But I also think that can be kind of a trap because it's indie until a lot of people like it, and then all of a sudden it's not indie. So indie is almost like the level of popularity because it's like once millions of people like it, it could be the same stuff, but it's like just not considered indie anymore. Um, because indie just means independent. That's what it stands for. It's like independent film. But I feel like you can have stuff that is mainstream that is extremely deep and powerful, and just because it's independent doesn't mean that it's good either. So for me, it's just about the quality of the story and what's at the root of the story and the writing and the dialogue and the shots, and is there like life behind the story? Is it organic? I hate things that feel formulaic or unoriginal or inauthentic. I just like stories that are, whatever. If it's about 10 minutes about a mouse, then and you spent your life around mice, then it's probably going to be really good. But when it's like you try and make something, or you see films sometimes and they just don't really hit, it's like that's what I like, things that are really connected to the reality of the people that made it.
I also wanted to ask you, do you have any support on your journey? Do you get help from family? Are you part of any community? Like, what is your support system as you go through this journey?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest positives of this past year, even though I haven't been doing my filmmaking, is that my support system has grown stronger for me, because I've just spent a lot of time focusing on relationships in my life. So my support group is definitely my friends, and my mom is a huge support for me too, and my brother is too. But my friends are a huge support for me, and I feel really blessed because I'm in a place now where all the people in my life that are on this journey with me I feel like they really root for me, and that's also taken me like actually being vulnerable with them too, because I think I used to hide a lot more stuff about what I was up to, but I've allowed them to be there for me. You know what I mean? By making them a part of my life, instead of closing them out. And I feel like I have friends that really push me in my life, and they want the best for me, and they're not afraid to push me a little bit, nudge me in the right direction, and that to me is the best blessing. And I always want to be the same with all of my friends, and those are a huge source of support and just happiness in my life.
Do you have any message for people that, and it's always hard to ask this question because they can ask it so many ways. What is something that we haven't touched base on right now that you would really like to share with someone who is in a similar spot, or maybe not even started at all, not even tried a project and gave a chance to fail at it? And anyone who has made it so far, but are like you, have a project that is very successful, and another one that they would like to start, but they kind of feel stopped and paused
Hmm.
to do it. What would be a message from you for that person?
Um, for someone who's stopped and paused, I think it's obviously the message for me too. Like it's gonna be a risk. You have to just you have to accept the risk, and there's nothing ever good came without taking a chance. You know, it's the same story. It repeats itself over and over again. If you have everything handed to you in life, you don't actually tend to do much with it. But when you have to take risks and put yourself out there, and you have yourself on the line for your own projects and for your own work, that's when like the miracles can happen. So that's scary, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm just like, I haven't been taking that risk. I've been focusing on other things. So I have before. I've taken that leap of faith before. I just took a break from it, and I think my advice for anyone is like, you got to kind of just accept some of the fear and uncertainty and not run away from it, but also be realistic with your life too. You know, like be aware of your responsibilities. If you need to get rid of some responsibilities, do that. But you
Mm-hmm.
whatever you put your time into is what will pan out. And you know this too, Miljana. I mean, like, what you focus on is what pans out. And what you put your time and energy is what works out in
Right.
your life, ultimately.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I'm on the same journey as
Yeah.
you are. Moving through it slowly, sometimes pause, sometimes moving at full speed, sometimes slow, whatever I need. I do my best to go through that. And yeah, fear is a big part fear of failure, fear of like what would everybody else think, fear of not being good enough, because that's really, one of the things that stops people. Like, I don't have all those things that those people that made it have, when in reality those people didn't have it. Most of them didn't even have most of the things that they needed to get to where they are. They just figured it out on their way and allowed themselves to fail and feel good and fail again and feel bad, and whatever feelings came up, whatever experiences came up, they just took them one at a time. Because you can't plan for everything. You can make plans, and it's a good idea to make a plan, but you cannot plan
Yeah.
for everything. Something will go wrong somewhere when you least
Yeah.
expect it. So that's what life is. And that happens every single day. That's why I think people don't get that you don't have to start a project to have that experience. That happens every single day. It can happen with a family member. It can happen with a friend. It can happen with us. We went to school. The professor didn't show up. We did bad on the exam. Like those are examples, but in a different content. But they're still examples of the exact same thing.
If I can, you can.
Yeah. I love that, and what's one of the reasons why I love working with you is your authenticity. So thank you for bringing that even in your projects of filmmaking, and I can't wait until you create a balance in your life so you can do both. The interpreting that you also enjoy very much to do, and the filmmaking, so you can share those stories with us that I think are waiting for someone like you to bring them to life.
Thank you.
Okay, and are you currently anywhere on social media that we could find you and connect?
Yes, but I'm not good at social media anymore. Yeah, definitely you can add me on Instagram. My handle is pretty much my name, just that instead of Nicholas, it's Nick. So it's at Nick_Radulescu. And that's my, right now it's pretty much just my personal page. But I think when I start doing films again, I think I'll actually start gearing it more towards that again. Because I just kind of enjoy posting more about projects and stuff I'm doing than selfies at this point. Everyone's got a selfie face. I lived it. But but I think at this point, like, if I for me to get active on Instagram again, it would be because I'm like posting about my films.
Yeah, okay. And you have any website or anything like that in case, because I get your Instagram right now is very personal. Well, whoever like to follow you as where the stage you're at
Yeah,
right now, that they can do that.
definitely.
Okay, sounds good. And is
I
there
appreciate anyone who wants to connect about anything, not regardless of what's on my Instagram. If anyone just wants to connect, I'm always happy to.
well, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Nick, for being with us today and sharing your part of the journey. I appreciate your time, your energy, and looking forward to following you on this journey as you make filmmaking something that you can feel proud of, as the way you feel proud of your freelancing interpreting job.
Thank you so much, Miljana, for the time and for giving me the chance to share about my experiences and allowing me to actually work through stuff on the call and express myself. And I really appreciate that, being that listening ear for me. And it's great to see you and see you working on this and doing well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you for joining me for yet another fruitful talk. Please share your comments, subscribe so you can get new video updates.
If I can, you can.